Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a product review for the Chef Robot AM7203 fully automatic coffee maker. Do you need to save a spot on your countertop for this thing? Watch this video and find out. So you ready? Let's get into this. Just a quick note, my reviews are based upon the things that I think are important. That might be a little bit different for you, so what I recommend doing is after watching my video, you watch a couple of other videos made by different content creators. That way you get a wider range of likes and dislikes and testing criteria. That in turn should help you make a more informed buying decision, and that is the most important thing of all. One additional piece of information I'd like to share with you about this review is that this machine was sent to me from Chef Robot. That's why I chose to click the box, so at the top of the screen you can see that this says it's a paid promotion. Chef Robot contacted me and wanted me to take a look at it, so I told them I would under certain conditions. First, they were going to get an honest opinion, so there was always going to be the possibility that they could get a bad review if the product is bad, in my opinion. And second, they wouldn't have any control of what I could or couldn't say about their machine. They didn't have any problem with that, so they sent it out, but I would still recommend checking out some other videos from other content creators anyway, just to give you a little bit more peace of mind so you can be sure that you're getting an honest opinion. These machines are pretty expensive, so you really need to make sure you get as much information as you possibly can before you buy something like this. Anyway, on with the review. This is the Chef Robot fully automatic coffee maker. Coffee maker, probably not quite accurate. This machine is more designed for espressos and cappuccinos and stuff like that. You've got your water reservoir right here. You've got your bean hopper on top right here. The milk frother sits over on this side, and this entire section is removable for cleaning. Also, the dispensing unit right here can be moved up and down to fit the size of the cup that you're using. As far as dimensions go, going from the back to the front, we have 18.5 inches of depth. We've got 10 and 3/8, so basically 10.5 inches wide. And the bottom to top, the machine's just about 14 inches, maybe a tiny bit less. The power cable is detachable, and this cable right here is about 3 feet long. If you have a desktop computer, this probably looks pretty familiar because it's the same kind of cable that plugs into the power supply on your machine. So if you were to want a longer cable, you would probably be able to use a longer power supply cable for this if you needed it to stretch a little bit further. That's something that you might want to check just in case with Chef Robot to ensure that you can do that. But in my estimation, probably not going to be a problem. A good thing about having a detachable cable like this is that if you're going to store it, you could take the power cable, sit inside one of these trays in here, and store the entire machine, and we'll have a cable poking out of the back. This coffee machine runs at 120 volts, but I'm in the United States, so pretty much every countertop appliance like this is 120 volt here. If you're buying this outside of the United States, then probably you're going to get a 240 volt version. That sort of depends on the country, and if you were picking one up, you'd be able to find that in the description. In addition to the machine being 120 volt, the bean grinder in the back here is 150 watts, and the heating element inside the machine is a max of 1350 watts. Like the description says, this machine is fully automatic, so you've got your bean hopper on the top with an automatic bean grinder built in. The water reservoir over on the side here auto dispenses, and the milk frother over here will automatically heat and froth for you. If you're looking at a more traditional type machine like my Ninja Luxe Cafe that I have over here, you can see that it looks a lot different. You got a portafilter over here. This has to be taken apart and cleaned all the time. You've got a tamper on the top over here that you use to compress your espresso. And you got your bean grinder over here where this would go into this. It would grind your beans. You'd have to tamp it down. You'd have to put this into the machine and lock it in. Then you would make your cappuccino. Then you'd have to steam your milk over here and then pour it into your cup. On the Chef Robot, all that stuff is missing. For instance, on the bottom of my portafilter for the other machine, you can see where the espresso comes out here when this is sitting up like this. Those are just right here. If I open up the bean hopper back here, I've got some espresso beans already in here. This little cap right here is just to protect this air vent from getting anything into it. And then back here, I have a dial to either use really fine grounds if I turn it this way, or really coarse grounds if I turn it this way. There's also a couple of settings in between there. Looks like maybe 4 altogether, to give me a little bit of variety as to how coarse I want those beans. One thing I noticed about this hopper that I thought was pretty strange is that this isn't removable. So you can't pull the hopper out to clean, which also means you can't clean the blades that are grinding your beans either. What? I thought that was a little bit weird, and I don't think I've ever seen a machine that didn't allow you to do that. Don't know if we really need it to be able to or not, but I don't know. Right here you got this platform on top if you want to set your cups here. And looking at the entire machine, you can see that this is just kind of a glossy gray plastic with some little chrome pieces. This isn't actual chrome, these are just plastic pieces that are chrome colored. It does look nice, but this stuff really can be a fingerprint magnet. The fact that it's not black though really helps with that. If this was piano black plastic, my fingerprints would stick out like a sore thumb. Get it? The water reservoir is right on the side here. This can be completely removed if you like to. You would want to take this out of the machine once in a while in order to clean it, but for the most part it can be left in the machine just like this. The reservoir holds 1.5 liters of water or 60 ounces. If you want to refill that, you could just slide this out a little bit until you can see this hole right here, and then you can just pour a little bit of water in there just like this. After that, this whole thing just slides in here, out of the way. This right here is the milk frother, and I can actually pull this completely out of the machine. This has got control on the top of it for how frothy you want your milk to be. If I wanted to take this thing apart for cleaning, this dial can be turned all the way over this way, and then it pops out just like that. This other part in the back that delivers the steam, same deal, it's locked in that position. I could turn this way, unlock it, and I can take this thing out for cleaning as well. To take the container off, you just push this button on the side, and this just kind of pops off just like that, and that is how we can fill this up with milk. The max fill line on this is 300 milliliters, and that's just about 10 ounces. So if you're making cappuccino, it's probably good enough to make about 4 cappuccinos before you have to fill this up again. Now, this thing will not keep your milk chilled. So if you have this filled up and you make a couple of cappuccinos and there's still a little bit of milk left, you would want to take this off of your machine and put it into your refrigerator. Otherwise, you're going to have really rancid, spoiled milk, and we don't want that. It doesn't cool your milk, but the steamer will heat your milk for you when it comes out of here. So it's going to suck everything up here, heat it, and then send it out of this thing right here. But it won't heat up the milk that's down here, so you don't have to worry about that. And for this, it just snaps back into the machine right there till it pops in. The one thing I can see that could really be a problem with this machine is if you are making a cup of coffee and you forget to turn this over here where it belongs, there's nothing that keeps this from dispensing if it's down here or even if it's turned over that way. So it can be a bit of a safety issue because it's shooting out hot steamed milk from this thing. It would have been nice if this would only be on if it was turned in this way, or if there was some way for the machine to remind you to turn the thing in this way. For instance, some kind of indicator that could tell if it was turned down like this or over here. Whereas it wouldn't continue until you aligned it in the right direction. For someone who's new to stuff like this, having this over here touching this, it doesn't seem like that's right. But evidently it is. Also, when this is all the way down, this doesn't quite reach too far into here. I would probably recommend pulling your cup forward a little bit like that, just to make sure this isn't just hanging over the edge. Otherwise, it can drip out on the outside of the cup a little bit. There weren't actual directions with the machine, so I had to kind of play it by ear a little bit on how all this works together. And at first, I thought that you had to steam your milk and make your cappuccino separately. So what happened was I had this down like this, and I had the espresso going into my cup, and then milk started shooting out of this and went all over the place. So really, Chef Robot could have done maybe a little bit better job on the instructions about how to go about making milk drinks and stuff like that. It's really not in there how to use this thing per se. However, I made that mistake one time and not again, fortunately. Another thing with the setup is that although this works really good with short cups like that, and it'll work really good with a larger cup like this, if you have really super tall coffee cups like these ones, you're gonna have a problem because even with this up all the way, I can fit this under here and I can get this to work, but there's no way to get this into that cup as well. In fact, if I had this all the way up like that, I can kind of shoehorn this in here like that, and it'll do the job even though it's all freaking cattywampus like this. Might have been nice if this unit was just a tiny bit taller. Either that or if this tray was a tiny bit shorter to accommodate stuff like that. However, that's kind of a small gripe because this coffee cup is really tall, so that's probably more on me for having a big tall coffee cup like this because it's kind of weird and oversized anyway. This section down here can all come out. You've got your main stand right here where your cups sit, along with a water or coffee collection spot down here that runs the entire length of this thing. This container right here is where all your espresso pucks go after they're used. And then back here, this will catch a lot of the grains from the grinder. Then down below, this entire thing can pick up all the moisture. And then we can just bring this whole thing over to wash. If we look in the receptacle in the middle, we can see all of the formed pucks sitting in there. After you get rid of the pucks, it's really as simple as just taking all this stuff apart. Obviously, you're going to want to wash this with soap. It is really easy to keep this part clean since all of these pieces come apart like this. And then once you've cleaned and dried them, they all kind of go back together the same way, the same way that they were before, like that. Obviously, you're going to clean this better than I did, and you're going to dry all these pieces, but really they only go together one way. The machine also comes with this brush right here, and this brush can be used to clean off some of the other parts up inside the machine if you can see any loose coffee grounds or anything like that. These are really the only option you have for trying to get everything clean up in here, unless you want to wet a towel and try to run it along up inside this area up here. The machine has a self-clean feature, but I have really no idea of knowing exactly how clean it really is getting this machine, but there is a little bit of residue in there, so I'm going to say it's not perfect. If I turn this machine on, it'll take a second to warm up, and you can see all of these different options blinking. Once they stop blinking, you know the machine is ready to go. What it's doing right now is doing a quick preheat. This could take up to 45-50 seconds before everything is steady like this, meaning your machine is ready to go. You got a few different options here, but it's not as many options as you might think. That's because these are basically two sizes of everything. So you got two sizes of espressos, cappuccinos, lattes, hot foamed milk, and you also have a button for Americano. The last button right here is for cleaning and descaling, and you would pretty much use that whenever you're done using your machine for the day. Right here you have all your warning indicators. These will blink whenever there's a problem with something. The first one lets you know if the water reservoir is in here properly, so if it's popped out a little bit like that, you can see that blinking. You just give it a good press, and it stops blinking. The second one here is for the puck depository, and if that's full or it can't detect it in there, that will start blinking. So really, if that's not in there and I close this, see, that keeps blinking. The third thing down here is for the milk frother. If that's not on the machine, then actually these will all disappear too, because you can't make those drinks without the milk frother. And you'll see this blinking right here too. The next one will tell you if the bean hopper is low, and then the last indicator down here will tell you if the water level in the reservoir is low. That's really it for controls on this machine. It's a very simple machine. It's designed for very specific types of things, and that's really it. I did test the temperature of the espresso coming out of the machine, and in a heated cup, it did come out right at 165 degrees Fahrenheit. And for me, that's right in the sweet spot. Unfortunately, if you like your espresso really hot, like at 180 or something like that, this machine isn't going to do that. You would have to take your espresso out and microwave it or something like that. That's a bit of a bummer, but for me, it probably doesn't matter too much since I like mine at 165 anyway, but that might be different for you. Hey, by the way, if this is your first time here and you want to learn some cool new recipes, get some great cooking tips and tricks and all sorts of other kitchen related things, then start now by subscribing to the channel and clicking the notification bell so you never miss a thing. To test the machine, I basically did everything on the machine, seeing as how there's not really that much that I have to do. I went through all of the functions in order. First, I did a single espresso shot. That came out really good and had a nice crema on the top too. Then I moved on to the double espresso and I put it in that same little espresso cup just to see if it really was a double. And when that came out, it came right to the top of my espresso cup, and that is right in the range where a double should be on the cups that I have. It might actually be a tiny bit too much if you want to be technical, but I think it came out pretty good. Second, I moved on to doing cappuccinos. First, the single cappuccino. One thing to note about the cappuccinos is that it will put the frothed milk into the cup first, and then it'll fill the cup in with the espresso. That'll end up leaving two little dots in your foam, and you can use those to make little designs in there or whatever. The double cappuccino was almost exactly double the size, and for me that came out pretty perfect. As far as espressos go, cappuccinos are my actual favorites, and this definitely tasted as good as anything I've gotten out of a coffee shop. The mileage might vary a little bit for you depending on what kind of beans you use and how much of a coffee connoisseur you happen to be. Next, I moved on to the lattes. Single latte was good, and you're going to see that on the lattes it pours the espresso in first, and then it fills that in with the cream second. That means you're going to have a little bit of a darker color to your foam as well, but that seems pretty consistent with the way I've gotten lattes in the past also. The double latte came out just the same, except bigger, exactly what you'd expect. And after that, I moved on to the milk frothing. The difference between the two foam settings really isn't all that much. You can even tell by the pictures on the machine. The top one does foam quite a bit of milk. You can see that right here, and it really does a great job foaming that up. That kind of surprised me about this machine. I didn't think it was going to be anywhere near as thick as it was, but there you go, and it looks pretty darn good actually. Honestly, it looks a little bit better than the results I've gotten out of wands on some cappuccino machines. The larger milk foam setting is really only about, I'd say, 20% more than the first one. But for the most part, I think that works out pretty good. And for most people, if you're foaming milk, you're probably just filling in a little bit of extra milk into an existing latte going into a big cup or cappuccino or something like that. So honestly, you probably don't need tons and tons of the stuff. Next, I moved on to the Americano setting. This is a pretty interesting one because if you don't know what an Americano is, it's basically like getting a regular cup of coffee except made with espresso beans. That way you get a really nice rich cup of coffee, and it's not as strong as you get with an espresso because they're mixing a little bit more hot water into it. And if you're the kind of person that likes cappuccinos and they still come out too strong for you, you could always do an Americano first and then do some milk foam and pour that in over the top. That way you'll get a nice big cappuccino and it won't be quite as strong as doing an actual cappuccino. The only other button I need to really show you is that clean button. And I'm going to show you that by actually demoing that right now. So I got my cup in here. We're going to pull this down close to the cup. And you can see that this actually won't go over the cup if the cup's already there. So you have to move this out of the way, have that up, then set the cup underneath and sort of adjust them from there. Kind of annoying, but I mean, that's the way the machine works. If this was a bendy part, we'd probably be able to deal with that, but honestly, it's not really all that big a deal. For this test, I'm also going to use my sound meter as well, so you can see exactly how loud this machine gets. Just an FYI, it's not really that loud at all. It's no louder than any other cappuccino machine, but I figure this would be kind of fun to do anyway. Also, I'm going to clip this part and leave the audio unedited. That way you get a better idea of exactly how loud this is and how it sounds. Okay, so we'll run one quick cleaning cycle. As far as convenience goes, this machine is probably as close to effortless as it's gonna be for cappuccino. Sort of reminds me of the kind of cappuccino machine you might see in a gas station or something like that. For those people that really don't want to deal with a portafilter, a tamper, or having to clean their milk frother, this really could be something to look at. As far as gripes go, you can see I really don't have a whole lot except for maybe a couple of things. We don't know how durable the machine's going to be because that's something that time is going to tell. A couple of more cleaning options would have been really nice, especially if I could remove that bean hopper. Not to mention that you really can't get up into the machine just to make sure there's no ground stuck anywhere. And then there's the issue of price. The Chef Robot isn't cheap by any stretch of the imagination, but it is priced pretty competitively with other cappuccino makers. As far as the flavor of the coffee goes, I really didn't have any problem with it, but then again, I'm not a super coffee connoisseur either. In any case, if you'd like a little bit more information about the Chef Robot fully automatic coffee maker, I do have an Amazon affiliate link and a link to their website down in the description of the video. Also, there's a discount code down there so you can save a little bit more money. As always, if you buy anything through those links, I do make a small commission, but it doesn't change the price that you pay 1 cent. If you like this video, I bet you're gonna love this video right here where I did a full review of the Ninja Luxe Cafe cappuccino machine. That machine's more of a traditional style cappuccino maker, but the price on it comes in really close to Chef Robot. If you watch that video, you'll be able to compare these two machines side by side, and it might help you make a better buying decision. Well, that's it for now. I hope to see you back again here really soon, and until that time, I'm Joe, and I hope you have a phenomenal day. Take it easy.